Now we're talking about the election. She, like many other celebrities after this election, decided to make her personal politics known. She wanted to launch an attack on not only Donald Trump, but his supporters. And she did so publicly on her Instagram story, and today we're going to read the statement and read.
Disney's live-action Snow White was expected to be a bold reimagining of a classic, but it quickly spiraled into a disaster. From Rachel Zegler's controversial political comments to the backlash over replacing the Seven Dwarfs with a diverse cast, the film seemed to ignite outrage at every turn. As production costs soared and the fan base turned against it, Disney had no choice but to pull the plug on the project. How did a tale of magic and wonder become one of Disney's most divisive failures? The controversy surrounding the film highlights a growing disconnect between Disney's modern approach and the expectations of longtime fans. Rather than celebrating the original story, the film became a battleground for debates about political correctness, diversity, and Disney's evolving identity.
Mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest one of all?
When Disney cast Rachel Zegler as Snow White, they clearly took a risky, bold step. Known for her outspoken opinions, Zegler was far from the traditional, safe choice for a role so deeply rooted in nostalgia. Right from the start, fans were divided. While some were excited by the fresh take, many of Disney's loyal followers felt uncertain about where the studio was headed with this iconic character.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Zegler didn't help matters with her comments on the original Snow White film, which many consider the cornerstone of Disney's legacy. She dismissed the classic as outdated, labeling the prince as a creepy stalker and suggesting that modern women no longer wanted the kind of romance depicted in the story. For many, this wasn't just a critique of the film's themes. It felt like a direct attack on a piece of cinematic history. To some, it seemed like Zegler wasn't merely reinterpreting the role, but dismissing its importance altogether. Fans who grew up with the original Snow White felt betrayed.
There are actors, dwarf actors, that that dream to be in a major motion picture such as this Disney remake. And now, because Peter Dinklage said what he said last year, now it's taken away.
The controversy deepened when Disney decided to replace the Seven Dwarfs with diverse magical creatures, a move that was reportedly influenced by actor Peter Dinklage's comments on the portrayal of dwarfs in films. While this decision was meant to avoid stereotyping, it led to backlash from dwarf actors, who saw it as a missed opportunity for true representation. Longtime fans were equally perplexed. The Seven Dwarfs were more than just side characters. They were a key part of the story's charm. Replacing them seemed like Disney was rewriting the heart of Snow White, leaving many fans disillusioned.
People who, it seems to me, have really suffered in all this are the 6 dwarf actors who would have expected to have roles in this remake in a massive Hollywood blockbuster, who are now not going to have that experience, all the money, all the fame that may have come with it.
The backlash was swift and intense. On social media, fans accused Disney of pandering to political correctness at the expense of the story's magic. Instead of celebrating the beloved fairy tale, the remake became a symbol of Hollywood's struggle to balance diversity with authenticity. What Disney seemed to overlook was that fans didn't tune into Snow White for social commentary. They wanted the timeless charm and magic of the original. By focusing too much on modern sensibilities, the remake risked alienating the very audience it hoped to attract.
Continues to fail us in forging a new path forward. This loss should not have been, and it certainly should not have been by so many votes. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace.
Rachel Zegler's outspoken nature didn't stop at her critique of the original film. Her controversial political comments about Donald Trump and his supporters only fueled the fire. When Zegler called Trump voters pitiful disappointments and wished they would never know peace, it added another layer of controversy to a film already mired in debate. Her words intensified the backlash, alienating potential viewers and putting Disney in a difficult position.
Telling Rachel Zegler to behave normally just isn't an option either. So the other day, in response to the presidential election, Zegler had a very public meltdown on her Instagram stories. She wrote, quote, "F you, Donald Trump. And she proceeded to insult the 75 million Americans who voted for him. Quote, I find myself speechless in the midst of this. Another 4 years of hatred, leading us towards a world I do not want to live in.
The immediate reaction was fierce. Social media exploded with criticism, particularly from Trump supporters who felt personally attacked. Many vowed to boycott the film and not support someone who so openly disrespected a large portion of the population. The issue wasn't just her political views. It was the harsh tone and divisive message that resonated with many fans as uncalled for. For a film that needed to appeal to a wide audience, Zegler's remarks pushed away potential viewers and turned a Disney project into a battleground for political discourse.
Why? But look, they've got their reasons, and apparently it's all Donald Trump's fault. Look, the official trailer of Disney's Snow White movie has been released, and it's being slammed as woke. Let's just take a look at the trailer.
The timing of Zegler's comments only exacerbated the situation. With the political climate already tense, Zegler's decision to dive headfirst into controversy made the Snow White remake a focal point for broader cultural debates. Instead of keeping the focus on the fairy tale's timeless appeal, the film became embroiled in a divisive political climate, further alienating audiences who felt the controversy overshadowed the story's core magic.
Apologise for her comments, but it's certainly not the smartest marketing move ahead of this film.
No, I mean, it's a great strategy.
The public backlash also sparked questions about Disney's handling of controversial figures. Many pointed out the double standard between how Disney treated Gina Carano, who was fired from The Mandalorian for less inflammatory comments, and Zegler, who remained in her role despite her controversial statements. This inconsistency raised doubts about Disney's values and fueled further frustration. Fans felt the studio was selectively enforcing its standards, which only deepened the backlash against the film.
Putting out your leading actress to go ahead and piss off half of the American population and potentially causing a huge backlash from it.
If there's one thing Disney likely regrets, it's the immense amount of money poured into the Snow White live-action remake. What started as a simple reimagining turned into a financial and public relations disaster. Production delays, cost overruns, and an increasingly divided fanbase made it clear that Disney was in over its head. The mounting expenses and negative press only amplified the perception that the film was spiraling out of control, leaving Disney with few options.
We say for the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and
The fan backlash was just the beginning. As Disney attempted to salvage the project with costly reshoots, it quickly became clear that no amount of changes could restore fan enthusiasm. The budget ballooned into the hundreds of millions, yet fans were unimpressed with the direction the film had taken. Leaked clips hinted at a hyper-modernized version of the story, with some even calling it a feminist fever dream. Fans who were once excited to see their beloved fairy tale updated now felt that the remake was barely recognizable. The delays only worsened matters, with the release date being pushed back to 2025. Every new setback deepened skepticism about Disney's ability to handle the film.
Hour she has to wear the dress. I mean, talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Not only are you being casted in a classic film to remake it, but you don't seemingly like your own.
The relentless backlash against Snow White was impossible to ignore. Fans were furious about the story's changes, the replacement of the Seven Dwarfs, and Zegler's dismissive attitude toward the original. With production costs soaring and the film already struggling to gain positive buzz, Disney had no choice but to halt the project. The controversy over Zegler's political statements only added to the financial and public relations disaster. The inconsistency in Disney's handling of controversial figures, especially when compared to Gina Carano's firing, left many fans questioning the studio's values and priorities. Snow White quickly became a cautionary tale for Disney, symbolizing the growing divide between the company's modern approach and the expectations of its core audience. Disney's attempts to modernize a beloved classic were met with a wave of criticism for prioritizing political correctness over storytelling. As the studio grapples with its identity, the Snow White disaster serves as a stark reminder that in the world of reboots and remakes, balancing nostalgia with progress is a delicate art. Disney's failure with this film may serve as a warning for future projects, as fans begin to question whether the magic of the past can survive the modern era.